But the men who held Athens, the strong founded citadel, the deme of great-hearted Erechtheus, whom once Athena, Zeus's daughter, tended, after the grain-giving fields had borne him, and established him to be in Athens, in her own rich temple. There, as the circling years go by, the sons of the Athenians make propitiation with rams and bulls sacrificed. Of these men, the leader was Peteus' son, Menestheus. Never on earth before had there been a man born like him, for the arrangement in order of horses and shielded fighters. Nestor alone could challenge him, since he was far older. Following along from him were 50 black ships, and Aulus brought ships from Salamis and Pelicna, and from Argyrusa, Nicaea, and Tripolis.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Aulus, what is this? That's not what Homer's Iliad really says. It really says that out of Salamis, Aias brought 12 ships and placed them next to where the Athenian battalions were drawn up.
What? That's not Homer's Iliad. We rhapsodes have been singing the wrath of Achilles for years. We have handed the story down from generation to generation. So, what makes your book truer than our tale, descended direct from Homer himself?
Pisistratus created it.
What? That silly Athenian tyrant?
Yes, that noble Athenian Pisistratus brought the best rhapsodes together from all of Greece at the Panathenea festival and put all the books of Homer in order. What a genius that man was! No one had ever thought to write it all down before.
Well, clearly, he made some mistakes, because Aias brought ships from Salamis and Pelicne, and from Argyrusa, Nicaea, and Tripolis.
Oh, and how do you know that? I suppose you've memorized the entire poem?
Mm-hmm.
All 24 books of it?
Yes, all 24 books of it.
How could you possibly remember all of it perfectly?
Some of the lines are pretty formulaic. Have you ever noticed how often I say, then, in turn, so-and-so answered him, or, godlike Achilles did such and such?
Well, yes, I suppose.
Those repetitive formulaic lines help me remember what happens next, what I should say, and how I should perform for attentive, respectful audiences.
Is that why so many of the heroes are godlike? Doesn't that sort of take away from the meaning?
I guess sometimes those adjectives don't have a lot of meaning. There are a lot of godlike warriors, but there's only one swift-footed Achilles. Sometimes the epithets must have meaning, and sometimes a name and epithet pair is just what I need to complete the meter of that line of poetry.
What, you need to complete the line? So you're rewriting Homer's masterpiece now?
Pisistratus is the one with false lines. I'm just telling the poem as I remember it.
I'm starting to understand what you do now. Every time you tell a poem from memory, You are sort of rewriting it, embellishing it a little, taking some parts out, adding some in. That must be why some rhapsodes tell the battle between Hector and Achilles much faster than other rhapsodes. Or even the same rhapsode tells it differently on two different days.
We're not rewriting it. We always retell the Iliad of Homer. We all tell how all the heroes put on the exact same weapons in virtually the same way. Sometimes an arming scene is a little shorter than another arming scene, sometimes a little longer, but the poem and the facts of the poem never change. At least not until Pisistratus and you crafty Athenians distort everything.
We may be wily, but your memories and oral tradition cannot be trusted forever. You rhapsodes are already making mistakes. We had to write it down. How else will children learn about virtue and honor? There just aren't enough rhapsodes to tell the Iliad every time my little children need to hear it.
Well, I can assure you, this will not be the last argument about correct or incorrect lines. These arguments will continue for all time, and none of you will know the true Iliad from your precious books. That, my Athenian friend, is here in my memory, and you will hear no more of it today. This performance is over.
The Iliad and Odyssey were written down many, many times in antiquity. Starting in the 3rd century BCE, scholars in Alexandria and elsewhere tried to determine Homer's actual text and what all of it meant. After Milman Parry demonstrated that the epic poems had elements of an oral tradition, scholars began debating whether or not a person named Homer authored the poems. They also debate whether rhapsodes received the text from Homer or composed it each time as different retellings of the Trojan War tales. This reconception of Homer as an oral tradition makes the epic poems incredibly challenging sources. Some 19th century historians doubted that the Trojan War even happened as Homer narrated it. Heinrich Schliemann set out to prove them wrong and excavated the ancient city of Troy, also known as Ilium, with controversial methods. More skilled and methodical archaeologists have uncovered many layers of Troy, some of which could have been destroyed in warfare. For example, the city was sacked around 1200 BCE. Archaeological finds from the land surrounding the Aegean Sea resemble some of Homer's descriptions. However, the objects or locations' dates sometimes match the time when Homer is said to have existed, sometimes match the time when the Trojan War was supposed to have been fought, or other times match some time in between those two times. Therefore, the Homeric epics are the result of an oral tradition remembering a Trojan War or wars, and they developed over centuries. A Luwian seal found at Troy suggests a connection between the city of Troy or Ilium and the Hittite Empire. The Hittite king Muwatalli II made a treaty with Wilusa around 1280 BCE. This treaty mentions a king Alexandru, that is, Alexandros, in the Iliad, and the god Apollonios, that is, Apollo. This connection provides tantalizing, albeit inconclusive, hints that the Homeric tradition contains some accurate memories of actual events.